All right, good evening. Call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. I would like to declare Matt Nearpass and Fred Salzberg necessarily absent. Couple of housekeeping matters. Emergency exits, as you'll notice, off to the right and left, as well as probably through the lobby and the entrance that you came in. Restrooms are out in the lobby area. If you haven't done so already, please sign the attendance sheet. There are also some business cards at the back table. You're certainly welcome to them with contact information to the planning department. There are proposed resolutions at the back table. You can have a look at those. We'll be reviewing those for the applications today. If you haven't done so already, please turn off or silence your cell phones. If you have any conversations that do not pertain to the current application that's being presented, please take them out in the hallway so as not to disturb the meeting. As for proceeding, what we would ask is that while you're speaking, we're not going to talk over you and vice versa. Reason being is Amber over here is taking the minutes, and it's going to make for a clean record if we take our time, not talk over each other, because at times that when we talk over each other, she's not going to be able to tell who said what, where, and when. And then when we take a look at the minutes, it's going to make our job a bit more difficult in figuring out who said it, where. So let's take our time. Other matters, use any exhibits you want. Just let us know. Susie over there will get it up on the screen for us. There should be a pointer over there. Do your very best to use descriptive language. Again, back to the minutes. If you notice over here, over there, that really doesn't translate well in the minutes. So descriptive language, structures, compass directions, roads, do the best you can with that. If there are new exhibits, we'll certainly take a look at them. Just let us know that they're new so we can mark them accordingly. And certainly if there's any questions along the way, feel free to ask. All right. With that, the next thing I'd like to take care of is the approval of the minutes of November 4th, 2024. So I would entertain a motion for approval, or if further discussion need be, then we will certainly do that.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Larry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Thanks. All right, Phoenix Mills. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good. Just a quick review. Last time you were here, I think we told you that the county planning board needed to take a look at it, and they came back with a class 1. They have a few comments and things. Other pieces, your application is a 12 by 20 pergola, right? No one's
Yes.
going to sit in there. This is just for shrubs, flowers, appearance.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Yep, yes,
Yeah,
say
sorry.
yes. She's not going to
Yes.
understand the head shaking or
Yes.
not. Great. Not for public use, not to sit, no lighting, no electricity out there, no signage.
Correct.
Right so far? Good. And I think we gave you a little homework. The height of the
Oh, the
pergola?
height. That's a good question.
Height.
I don't have that answer. Is it 9 foot?
Okay. So,
That's a guess. I mean,
well, we don't want to guess. So
I could look it up and maybe when I'm done and then let Amber or somebody know. I can tell because I can look it up online and see
Let
what
me
the
ask
one I
Adam
ordered.
that. If it's 9 feet, is that going to be an issue with a different variance? We're good? No. Okay. All right.
It'd
So,
have to be 15 feet or taller.
all right.
Oh, it's definitely not that tall.
Okay. So for now, if it's something different than 9 feet, if it's shorter than 9 feet, fine. If it's 9'1",
You need to know.
yeah, be specific. So we're going to go with 9 feet. And I'm going to presume, at least for the time being, that the board doesn't have an issue. If they do, they'll let us know on that piece.
Okay.
the measurement from the, Adam, you wanted it from the structure to the front of the property line, right?
Right, the right-of-way front property line.
Do we have that?
It was provided today.
Okay.
So 27 feet nearest point of the structure to the front right-of-way. And then on a previously submitted site plan, it shows the closest structure to the right-of-way at 80.4 feet. So the variance would be granted for 57.4 feet of relief. That's not accurate, excuse me. Check my math.
Okay.
$53.4 feet, excuse me.
You, okay. Anything else you want to add before we open up to the board for
Oh,
follow-up
I don't think so.
questions?
I think you asked for a stakeout, so I did that. I don't know
Yes,
if
I
you,
appreciate that. That was helpful, thank you. Larry, follow-up questions?
I'm just curious if the landscaping underneath the pergola ends up not being maintained. Is there a way that we can make sure that the pergola disappears? And this is more a question for him than.
for me,
for the
okay.
chairman then.
Usually those are referred to sunset provisions. And as I'm looking up, thinking about how is that pertinent then to the granting or denial of a variance? What
Well, I'm thinking,
criteria does that fit into?
it's pertinent in the sense that the pergola and the landscaping are one project.
Okay, well, let's ask, what kind of vegetation will be in there?
It's probably going to be low-maintenance shrubs, things that are same thing that's around the clock area and the flag. I think we keep that up pretty nice. It's my aunt and uncle's job to, everything's going to be low maintenance. They'll trim it, cut it, and keep some nice flowers there in the springtime through the summer. Take those out and then just have some bushes. Some
you're gonna
low,
have-
nothing big and tall, very low.
So on the perennial piece, those, of course, need to be maintained.
Sure, yeah.
Annuals,
Sure, yeah, and if you notice, we keep that up pretty often around the plaza. We're changing out flowers and making sure we're planting new and,
on the perennials, do you have an idea of what the maximum height you would like to see there?
probably nothing taller than what you would allow, or what would be over near the flag area, or the main area there where the sign is.
Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
I'm gonna withdraw my question because I'd forgotten that they had the flag area, so to me, that maintenance of that whole area is gonna be all the same. So, and I don't have any other
And
questions.
there might be a little bit of a water system there to keep it, like we do out by the flag. We did a water system, sprinkler system through there that keeps it watered, so it always looks nice and doesn't get dry and
For a
dead.
second there, I thought you were talking about a fountain of some
No,
sort.
no, 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 no. I'll be back next month with that. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, okay, good. Leah, questions?
With the pergola, do you plan on, in the summer months, to put like hanging flowers at all?
No, it's probably just everything ground,
Just everything,
everything
okay.
ground.
Okay. And on this one sketch that you provided, where it's titled "Looking Above the Pergola," I have a question with that. Susie can pull that up. So it's 20 feet wide from the top part, and that's the side that's closest to the street, correct?
Yes, both sides are 20 feet wide. The way that you see it come out. Hold on, I forgot how you work this thing. There we go. No?
Just gotta keep the button pushed
Oh,
down.
gotta keep pushing it. So see the way you see it come out
Yes.
here on the side? That was gonna be, that's the pavers that kind of come around to keep everything soil-wise and everything under the pergola. But the pergola itself is 20 feet wide here, 20 feet wide here. Bad drawing on my part.
Okay.
And then this is 12.
Right. Oh,
So
okay.
this, I know, it makes it look like it goes out farther. This is the way the pavers were gonna go around it.
Okay.
To kind of hold all the topsoil and then the mulching and then the planting.
Okay, I understand. Just looked like it didn't look like a
No, I know.
rectangle, that other, okay. But
I-
I understand why you did that. Okay, that was my question.
May I ask a question in the middle of this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So on that drawing, the
Mm-hmm.
straight lines going down are the pergola, or where the pergola would be, right?
These straight
Right.
lines right here?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Okay, I got it.
Okay, so that's all I had.
Okay. Would anyone from the public like to speak for or against the application? Anything from our viewing? No, we're good. Thank you, Susie. All right, anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Based on your question, just a quick straw poll, you're okay with the application, Larry? Oh, Leah, okay, good. Let's go through the resolution and plug in the criteria with the justification. First, an undesirable change would not be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by granting of the area variance. The facts we have learned, the pergola is 12 by 20. It is purely for aesthetic purposes. The location has been identified. It is only for flowers, shrubs, greenery. It's not for public use. No one will be using or sitting in it. There'll be no lights. There'll be no signage. The height is, for now, is approximately 9 feet. Would anyone like to add anything to the first criteria?
No?
All right, second, the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. The purpose of the pergola is for aesthetic purposes, to enhance the area and possibly create some attraction for those that want to not participate, be customers to the area. Putting it any other place probably would be futile. Would anyone like to add anything to the second criteria?
No?
Third, the requested area variance is substantial, given the location of it and the distance forward of the primary structure. I would consider that to be substantial. Would anyone like to add or comment on the third criteria?
No?
Third, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district. The pergola, along with the shrubs and flowers and vegetation, I can't imagine how that would have an adverse effect or impact on the environmental conditions. Would anyone like to add anything or comment on the fourth criteria? Fifth, the alleged difficulty is self-created. We should put in there that the county planning board returned a Class 1. If we're all set on that, then I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Leah. Second.
Second?
Thank you, Larry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Good luck to you. Thanks so much for your patience. and
Thank
time.
you very much, I appreciate it.
Welcome. Have a good night. Have some new documents.
Thank you.
This is the Polster, saying that, Polster and Jackal Corporation Victor Shop location.
P&J is much easier to say.
P&J, all right, I like that. Good. All right, you are looking for an area variance 65 feet from the required 100 feet. The roadway is going to be within the 100 feet buffer area. And this is, you have a proposed contract in place. It's a new business coming in, and P&J apparently has 3 different locations, and they're going to consolidate it into one and move on into Victor. Hopefully.
Correct.
We had a meeting on November 4th, and there was a bit of a, let's call it, due to some due diligence, the best we could come up with was back in 1991, there were 2 expansions, but the second phase was never built. Safe to presume we have no other information on that second expansion or verification that that is in fact what happened.
That's our understanding, and the map that's shown, or was just shown up on the screen, was in the town's records, but no record of actual approvals or otherwise.
Okay. We also found out, the equipment and the machinery inside, well, all the work is going to be done inside, and most of the machinery has minimal noise. And there is, if there were some kind of issue with the neighbors in the apartments, that the owner has at least the ability, the flexibility then to insulate it. But at this time, unless we hear some complaints about it, we're just going to leave that be. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
Okay. Anything else you want to add before I open it up to the board for further
Yeah,
questions?
I had 2 things. We read the draft resolution. Thanks for providing that. There's actually 2 items that we've asked for variance on, and I think they got a little bit mixed. So 44 feet to the roadway, 65 feet to the building, both are required to be 100. And that's in our original letter and the applications and supporting materials that we placed. So I think it just got conflated a little bit on the resolution.
I believe that was in the minutes in November 4th with the 44 feet as well as the 65 feet.
Yeah, I think we discussed that. So I just wanted to clarify to make sure that it was captured accurately, so I appreciate that. And then the handout that I gave you.
Hold on
oh,
one
yeah.
second. I just want to
Go
make
right
sure
ahead.
Amber has that. You got that? Good. Okay, keep going.
Great, thank you. And then the handout that I gave you, we had not had a colored rendering at the time that showed kind of graphically the location of the apartment buildings. Obviously, we're adjacent to a residential parcel. That's really a drive aisle and access point to there. So I just wanted to make sure that the board understood, as I was describing that at the last meeting, how far the separation was. And then we subsequently have also appeared at the planning board and had to wait until next week's meeting as well, just due to county planning review. But they had asked for, in their comments, a lighting plan. And the second page of what I provided you, we're just doing building mounted lighting for egress, and that includes just the placement of some of those lights, which are represented with the light spill at various doorways, and showing that that's all contained within the property and not anticipated to impact the neighbors either. So that's all the supplemental information that we have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I think you know the county planning board returned this, Class 1, had a few questions regarding stormwater management and sufficient parking. Want to comment on that?
Sure, yeah, sufficient parking, 25 to 30 employees, very minimal visitors. I think we've got 82 or 83, excuse me, parking spaces on site, so more than sufficient for the use that we're going to be putting on here. And then as it relates to stormwater management, that was one of the town engineer's comments. We've submitted our plan to address stormwater quality with a stormwater water quality volume manhole to treat the new roof runoff, and there is some regional stormwater management facilities within the industrial park that handle stormwater quantity. So we're still waiting on a full review of that from the town engineer, but anticipate having that all wrapped up by the planning board meeting next week.
Okay, so this is if the board decides to grant your request for a variance, it will be subject to planning board approval.
Yes.
Okay, understood. All right, Leah, questions, comments, concerns?
A question about the noise, and it's more to the board here, Adam and Mike, maybe you can answer. since this building is in an industrial area and the apartment buildings are next door, and, that was approved for residential, what are the restrictions for noise? Because when you put apartments next to industrial, there is going to be some noise. So how can,
So the,
how can anybody then from the building say, well, it's too noisy here, we hear too much noise from the business, when you move next door to where business is?
right, so if the business is in violation of the town's noise ordinance, then they have to correct that. But there's, noise is always brought up as a concern, and we ask that the applicant disclose what kind of noise it might be made. I think at the last meeting, we were assuming that a lot of noise might be produced, but it may not impact the neighboring residential at all, regardless of how loud your machine is. You're lower in the ground than the apartments, whatever the distance is, but should we receive a complaint and then it violates a noise ordinance, then remedial action would need to be taken, such as Matt was suggesting, sound buffering, things like that. That,
Right.
Mike.
no, when Matt,
Oh, man,
when
okay.
Matt, at the last meeting, I apologize, Mike, so.
I think the other aspect is in the code, light industrial has a list of kinds of businesses that are permitted in that area as opposed to industrial. So it's, ideally, the code addressed it, it's a lower impact manufacturing that's permitted in that area.
And at the
usually-
last excuse me, because at the last meeting, it was said that there were like two pieces of equipment, and they're not too noisy, they're not even going to be near the door, and your doors are really closed. See, really what I'm getting at, I don't want then, like maybe the residents to make what I would call a baseless complaint about noise that would impact.
Well, it would be investigated before any kind of order to remedy was issued, right?
Yeah, and noisy means different things to different people, right?
Exactly.
So within the code, and I'm sure Adam can correct me if I'm wrong, typically there's a numeric value that can be measured with a sound meter. Usually it's at the property line or within a certain distance from the building. So they can't just call up and say, hey, it's noisy out here. Adam would have to go out and measure it and say, hey, guys, it's really not above our threshold. If it is above the threshold, we need to address it, because that's a code issue.
Right, and the code is written as such,
Yeah,
so.
okay. And earlier you said the business is going to have 22 employees and
25 to 30.
25 to
typically.
30, and how many, I guess I missed how many spots are
I
there?
think we have 82, but I.
Oh, 82, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've
I
got that
missed
on one of
number.
these maps here.
Okay. Okay.
This is a slightly not related question, but do you know how the current gravel driveway transcends the property line?
Yes, the owners are purchasing that north property as well, so they don't need to grant a variance to each other, or to themselves, I guess I should say, but if one's necessary in the future, they have control over both properties.
Do you have intentions of paving that? Because it also looks like there's some kind of easement underneath it.
The easement is sorry,
It's like a 20-foot wide sanitary.
yeah, it's a sanitary easement currently, with no sanitary in it, to the best of our knowledge.
Okay. Those are more planning questions. I
Yep.
didn't seem to notice that before.
Okay, yeah, they did ask that question at planning board, we
Okay.
answered it the same way. And
Very good.
we will grant a variance if it's needed in the future.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay. Larry, questions, comments, concerns?
Yes. We've talked a lot about the apartment building, but with this new map that you've given us, I noticed that there's a residence even closer to your building. What is that owner's opinion on this?
I believe all the notices went out as part of the advertising, all properties within 500 feet, and to my knowledge, we have not heard anything from the owner. That property is not zoned residential. That property is zoned the same as we are. So while the use may be residential, it's zoned the same light industrial commercial as
And I
us.
think the nearest point of the existing building is closer.
Closer to
To that.
to the west property
Right.
line than it
Right.
is to
So
that.
just so we're talking about the same thing. I think I know what you're talking about. The property that's just south of the proposed building, which would be north of 251, is that the residence you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, good. We're on the same page.
Yeah, so the building is greater than 100 feet from that property line. I don't have the exact measurement, but it's further away than the existing building is from that property. And it's zoned, we don't have a separation requirement to that property line because it's zoned the same as we are.
Okay, thank you.
All set? Good. Anyone from the public want to speak for or against the application? Susie? Anything else you want to add?
Thank you.
All right, I'm all set with my questions. So let's walk through the criteria and the justification. One, an undesirable change would not be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by the granting of an area variance. As it was discussed today, as well as the prior meeting on November 4th, there is a purchase agreement from the proposed owner to construct an expansion. And on that, a fair amount of due diligence was provided for us to figure out that approximately in 1991, there were 2 expansions that were shown. However, the second phase was never built. The operation currently is out in Gates, 3 different locations, and they would like to have all of the locations, satellite locations, moved here to Victor into one. The operation that they have, the equipment and machinery will all be inside and of minimal noise. In the event that there is a noise issue that from the neighbors, our code enforcement officer will investigate that and address it appropriately. The county planning board had some comments, and the applicant had provided us as far as the parking. There is sufficient parking. There will be approximately 25 to 30 employees with minimal visitors. The stormwater management has been and will be addressed. And if this is approved, the planning board, it's conditioned on the planning board approving their plan. Would anyone like to add anything or comment on the first criteria?
No.
Thank you. Second, the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. Given the nature of the business and the desire for the proposed owner, that it appears necessary that the addition is necessary for the operation to be successful. I'd like to incorporate the justification that we used in criteria number 1. Would anyone like to add anything to the second criteria?
No.
And the business owner wants to consolidate his operations.
I had said that everything that we said
think-
for the first justification is going to be incorporated into the second, okay? We're good? Awesome. Third, the requested area variance. Give me a moment here. I think we'll put in here, the requested area variance is not substantial. What they're asking for and the need doesn't appear to be that this is a substantial request. And again, I would request we incorporate the justification that we used in the first criteria. Would anyone like to add or comment on the third criteria?
No.
Good. Fourth, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. Primarily, that the You're an engineer? Yes. Okay. The engineer for the applicant has indicated that the stormwater management will be addressed. Would anyone like to add or comment on the fourth criteria?
No.
Good. The fifth criteria, the alleged difficulty is self-created. Any of the board members want to comment or consider any kind of conditions to the proposed variances? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask that it be read? Because he's asked for 2 variances, and I just want to make sure that what we're approving is, because it's obviously not this.
All right,
Am I right
so
on that, or?
the corrected,
So it's 44 feet to the roadway and 65 feet to the building.
Correct.
Okay.
all right, we're good?
Yeah.
Anything else on the conditions or
Nope.
any of the justifications for our criteria? All good? Very well. Entertaining motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Larry. A second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your
very much.
patience.
Appreciate
and
it.
You are very welcome. Thank you, Larry, for doing that. That was helpful. Storybook Farms. Like to put an addition, an expansion. You need a variance requesting 73 feet and 80 feet is required. The expansion has an overhang. It's also, the parking area is going to be ADA compliant. And reasons are that business is growing, it's been there for 40 years, and there's really not many options you have due to the property abuts to town property as well as the pet cemetery. Let's sum it up. If you want to add anything else, you certainly can.
Sure. So since we saw you guys last, we did provide a color rendering of the site plan, which we had at the planning board meeting. We were in front of the planning board shortly after your guys' meeting in November. Some pretty positive feedback from those board members. I do expect we'll get site plan approval next week at their meeting. We are also got the county planning meeting minutes. Both this variance and the site plan application were deemed Class 1. The only comments they had back were regarding if we're going to do stormwater controls, which the answer is no. We're below both the DEC thresholds as well as the more restrictive Arundequoit Creek Watershed Coalition thresholds, which is like 15,000 square feet, I believe. So even if we built out the land bank parking, we're still below that threshold. So we don't have any stormwater controls proposed beyond just conveying the downspouts away from the building. The other question that they had was about tree removal, which we don't have any planned except for the foundation plantings along the building that we need to take out to complete the expansions. They're kind of smaller trees, nothing of the larger scale ones that exist in the perimeters of the site. Beyond that, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a pretty small request just for the front building expansions to the east.
Want to go first, Larry?
Sure, why not? The question's not for you, it's for Adam. Basically, this would not be here before us if they were not trying to build the awning.
Well, no, the silo, no. Yeah, I think the silo is like a foot further.
They're
onto the
both
site.
past the front setback. If you could flip
Yeah.
back to one of the black and white elevations, I can show you. Go to the other one. Yeah, perfect. So right here, the setback line is basically this front face of the building. So this is what we're asking for, this front awning, as well as the portion of this silo.
But yeah, the
the awning's
awning's
about a
just
foot
slightly
more.
closer,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
and we're
you.
giving ourselves, I think, like 6 to 8 inches of flexibility just based on what the architectural with our ask.
I have no questions.
Okay, Leah?
So with that, it's because you're building that silo, you're not expanding the interior of the building, you're just reformatting the interior, it's, from what I understand, it's just you're building that porch
Can you
with
flip
that
to the, do you
awning.
have the color aerial that that I sent over to Amber today?
Alien.
Oh.
This
let
is
me
all
just-
addition, like
Right.
the wings, but
Right.
these are forward. So they can build these addition without a variance, but because of this and this.
You have to stay back there.
Right, because the, yeah. 'cause
So the
all
inside
that's-
will get bigger.
Right,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the,
I'm just piggybacking on Larry's question.
I think we're in like a 44 to 45% square footage expansion
Right.
to the usable space within the building once we complete the additions. The front canopy for the doorway doesn't count toward that expansion
No.
area. It's just more of an aesthetic architectural enhancement of the front. The silo, the circular feature here, the little portion that does clip it, does add a little bit of square footage. But we think it makes, fits in with the context of the building addition versus doing something that's boxy just to kind of stay behind that line.
Yeah, my question was more around the fact that, except for those two little pieces,
Right,
they wouldn't even be here in front
right,
of us.
Correct.
right. Yeah, because I was reading all of this, and, I just want to understand it in my mind. It's just that little front portion. It has nothing to do with the inside expansion. Okay, no more questions.
Okay. Anyone want, like to speak for or against the application? Hearing none. Susie? Good, okay. All right, I think we have all the information that we need. Thank you for providing drawings and the documentation and addressing the issues that were presented from the county planning board. I don't know if I heard you correctly. Did the planning board, the town planning board, have a look at this already, or is it to be reviewed?
We were at their meeting on the 12th of November already, and like the same reason they didn't take action because they were waiting on county comments.
All right. So, much like the other, if the board decides to grant the variance, it's going to be conditioned on the granting of the planning board approving it.
Correct.
Okay, good. All right, let's walk through the criteria. One, an undesirable change would not be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by the granting of an area variance. Justification being, as was pointed out today, as well as the prior meeting, that the request is arguably minimal. It is some of it is aesthetics and some of it is for an expansion, but it's arguably, I think it's primarily for the aesthetics of the building itself. The business has been there for approximately 40 years. The property is limited as far as in what direction then they can go for expansions due to it abuts to town property as well as a pet cemetery. County Planning Board issued a Class 1, and as far as the stormwater management, we're going to call it a non-issue. That issue has been addressed, and for the time being, there is no plans for any tree removal. Would anyone like to add or comment on the first criteria?
No.
All right. Second, the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. Let's incorporate all those justifications that we had in the first criteria. Would anyone like to add or comment, excuse me, on the second criteria?
No.
Third, the area variance is not substantial. As was pointed out more so today, that what the applicant is looking for is arguably minimal and therefore not substantial. Would anyone like to add or comment on the third criteria?
No.
Fourth, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. The applicant's engineer has indicated that there is not a stormwater management issue. So it has been investigated and addressed. Would anyone like to add or comment on the fourth criteria?
No.
Fifth, the alleged difficulty is self-created. Would anyone like to offer any kind of conditions or not? No, no conditions. All right, very good. I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Leah, and a
Second.
second. Thank you, Larry. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
For your hard work and all of the detail you provided us. It makes our job that much easier to review it.
Makes everyone's job easier, so.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you guys very much.
You're welcome. Does anyone have anything you want to talk about before we?
do.
Go ahead.
I would just like to extend my thanks to the staff for all the help they've had been this year, and hope they have a good holiday. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but here
It
it is.
most certainly is. You beat me to the punch, but that's okay. And I think Leah echoes that, so thank you so much. You make our jobs that much easier. So much appreciated. Anything else?
Yeah, thank you for printing this out and
Yes.
getting it to us ahead of time,
It's very helpful. All right,
because I don't like looking at screens. I'd rather have the paper in front of me.
and for me, certainly has been a pleasure working with all of you, board members. We'll talk to my other board members at some other time, but thank you. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we continue this moving on into 2025 and beyond. If there isn't anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Carried. Have a good evening, and I'm sure I'll see Member and